Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the information webinar for the Dr. David Monash, Harry Lloyd, and Elizabeth Paulette Marshall Medical Student Scholarship Program. So that is such a mouthful to say, and if you notice, it actually has changed. Previously, it was called the Monash Scott program, but we have recently changed the name to reflect our current funders. The Monash Scott program has been around. I believe this is the 6th year of the Monash Scott program. And I'm sorry, let me not call it Monash Scott. Monash Marshall is what I believe we will be calling it now. But the program is essentially the same. It is a partnership between National Medical Fellowships and the Chicago Community Trust. My name is Tamikia Jackson, and I am a program consultant with the National Medical Fellowships, and I've been with NMF for a little over a year and a half. And on our programs team, we also have Ellie Ogai, who is our program associate.
Hello.
And Ellie does a phenomenal job of answering questions and giving out information about the scholarship. She's often the first point of contact with the scholarship team. And then we also have Desiree Torres, who is our programs coordinator. And she also, if you apply for the program, you'll probably hear from any of the three of us about your application, or if you have issues with it, or if you have questions, you can feel free to reach out to any of us. NMF is located in New York, which is where our office is, but we also have offices in New Orleans, Chicago, and California, I believe in Los Angeles in California. So information focus on the program. I do want to ask you to hold your questions until the end. If you want to, you can type them into the chat box if something comes up, just so you don't forget. But you are muted, and you'll be muted for the duration of the presentation. So about NMF, our mission is to increase the pipeline of physicians and health professionals who have cultural competency and a commitment to provide quality health care for all members of our diverse society. So we really have a focus on diversity in all of our scholarships and fellowships that we award, but especially because our society is just such a diverse society. So we want to make sure that all of the people, particularly minorities who are often underserved, get served accordingly, and with people who have cultural sensitivity to make sure that they get the best care. So we provide scholarships and service learning opportunities to students, and we also partner with national and regional organizations such as the Chicago Community Trust. So our service learning programs typically have a financial or monetary award, and then the scholars also have a service learning component that they have to fulfill, and that is in the form of typically a community project that goes to serve some underserved community or to address a problem within that community. So this program, it invests in underrepresented minority health professionals and communities. We develop the future leaders in the medical field, encourage community involvement, and support community sites and their constituents. So it's up to the student who receives the scholar to choose the community site that they work with. For this program and the majority of our other programs, we do not assign sites. Occasionally we can recommend a site based on something that a previous student has done. So there are two different types of scholarships for the Monash Marshall program. There is a service scholarship, which has an award of $5,000, and a residency scholarship, which has an award of $25,000. And we'll talk about sort of the difference between those two in just a minute. Program eligibility. So we select 10 scholars for the award, and the scholars have to be U.S. citizens. They have to have demonstrated leadership at an early stage, have a commitment to serving medically underserved communities, and be enrolled at an accredited medical school in Chicago, Illinois. And that goes for both the service scholars and the residency scholars, that you have to be right now at an accredited medical school in Chicago. So service scholars are students, medical students who are between their first and third year in a Chicago area medical school. So that is currently between your first and third year. So this year, if you're first year, then next fall you would be a second year, obviously, in order to be eligible for this program. As a residency scholar, right now you need to be within your fourth year of medical school and planning to start your residency. Essentially this summer is, I believe, when most residency programs begin. So you do have to have matched or have a matched offer by the time that you apply for the program, for the residency scholars. So service scholars have an independent project, that's that service learning component that I was talking about earlier, that you have to complete. It has to have a minimum of 200 hours. It is self-directed, so you choose what issue you're going to address, which community you're going to work with, as well as how you plan on addressing that issue. And you need to reach an underserved community group. NMF is all about reaching people who have not been reached, because we know that the inequities are so severe, as I'm sure many of you know as well, as there's a real focus on that within the, particularly I think the medical school community, but also I think within medicine as a whole. And so that's definitely something that we want to address. The way that we impact it is by awarding money to you all who are currently in medical school and can use your skills to do more for your community. And we also hope to develop future leaders, like I said, who even once you begin practicing will continue to give back to your community to make yourself available for community projects and such. So remember that our service scholars are scholars who are still in school and will be in school next year. The residency scholars, you have to be a Chicago area first-year medical resident. So as I said earlier, when you apply, you need to have matched at some residency program within the Chicago area. One of the other things that I think may be a little confusing is some people ask if they can apply for this award if they have matched in Chicago but they went to medical school in a different place. And the answer to that is unfortunately no. You have to be currently in a Chicago area medical school, planning to stay in Chicago, and really have a commitment to doing work in Chicago. So as I said, our partner on this is the Chicago Community Trust, and the reason that they founded this award and that they continue to fund this award is specifically to address the health inequities in Chicago. So they want people who are not just going to do a little bit of work in Chicago, but really who are looking to kind of do extended work in Chicago or even, you know, lifelong work in Chicago. I won't put you all into the box of saying that you'll be in Chicago for the rest of your lives, but I hear it's a pretty fabulous place to be. The purpose of this scholarship is to reduce the student debt loan burden acquired in medical school. So we do not require you to do a service project like the service scholars have to do, but we do encourage you because, as I said, we want to continue and to continue to develop professionals who are in the practice of giving back to their community. And each year it kind of varies whether or not our scholars are able to really be involved in a project. It might not even be a project that you lead, but just a project that you're part of that takes you into that realm of giving back to the community. So there are a couple of different roles and things that exist, parts to the program. All of our service scholars have to have a site mentor, and the site mentor, ideally, it would be a person who is at the location that you choose to have your community service project, and that person is a person who can both give you advice on the topic that you are trying to address, So if you are working with kids, this might be a person who has a specialty in education or in child development, but they may not necessarily have like a medical specialty for something that you're trying to address. They can still give you insight and understanding on the population that you're working with, so they might still count as your site mentor. One of the things that we have had, and we're kind of talking about now, how we will structure this year, is that we've had a faculty advisor, and that typically gives you someone who may give you, someone at your school who may give you, if you're addressing a specific health issue, some of the guidance on like how to address something medically, or what would be the best way for you to do an intervention on a particular problem. But as I said, we're still kind of talking about that. But your site mentor, again, should be able to help you with the population or with this particular problem you're trying to address, and then they should also be able to help you to navigate the site, so not just letting you in and out of the site, but also maybe giving you an understanding of how they operate, as well as what resources are available to you. Because if this is not a site that you've been in for a long time, it might be difficult to figure that information out. In the program, as a scholar, you have to do monthly reporting, and this is both service scholars and residency scholars. Residency scholars, we want to know, how is your residency going? What issues have you faced this year? What have been your successes this year? Have you been able to help out the community in any way? But like I said, we don't ask you to do sort of the extra community service stuff. As a service scholar, we want to know what have you done to fulfill your project? How is your recruitment going? How active are your participants, and what changes have you seen, or how are you measuring your success? That all sort of goes into that monthly reporting. Then we have final reports, which include a paper, a presentation, and a poster. And it basically is just an analysis and a documentation of your project and your results. So NMS, like I said, we want to really sort of develop our scholars, not just give them money and say go. And so while this sort of the paper, presentation, and poster may seem like a lot, it's not really a lot. You're just telling us what you did, but we do ask you to do it in a more professional format. We have a good number of our scholars who have taken their projects from a program that they've done with NMF, and they've been able to submit it to journals, get published, also to go to other medical forums or forums in general, and to be able to do poster presentations and possibly get awarded for their work. So we want to emphasize that this project is not just something that you're doing for NMS, but it's something that you're doing for yourself, for your development, as well as it could be an achievement or a potential achievement that you can use to further your career. And then we have a culminating event, which, as it says, facilitates discussion of projects and sharing of ideas. We often hear from our scholars that they want to be able to talk to one another and to see what they're doing and to get ideas about that. And we want to facilitate that sort of environment so that you are actually able to build a network and to create opportunities for conversation and possible partnerships to form. We've, I think, had some people who have kind of did a solo project, and then the second time that they received an award, did a group project, you know, or was able to make a connection with someone to help them solve a problem at a later date. So we're also very much about partnerships and working together. The application. These are the parts of the application. This can also be found on our website when you go to look. I put our website up here, nmfonline.org/Monash-Scott. That's probably going to change soon because of the name change to Monash-Marshall, but you can still find it on our website. And the majority of this stuff is pretty much the same as a normal application: medical school transcripts, student aid report. This is the report that you get from your FAFSA So it would come from there. Verification of citizenship, that is usually a passport photo or a birth certificate. Yeah, you do have to be a citizen in order to get the award. Your financial aid transcript is a form that NMF provides, and when you go in to fill out your application, there's actually a form where you put in someone from your financial aid office to send the form to. We have had some confusion over that form, so if you run into any issues, feel free to reach out to us. So sorry, something just popped up. Go away. There we are. So if you have issues with that, just feel free to reach out to any of us and we can help figure that out. If we need to, we'll mediate with your financial aid person because it is vital information for us to have for our records and such. Your personal statements are where we get to see sort of who you are, not on paper. So if you think of a presentation of yourself on paper being your resume and your transcript, which shows a very sort of bland look of who you are, your personal statement should be a much more colorful look and fuller, richer view of who you are. So we want to know about why, you know, you're in medicine and what motivates you, what experiences have you had. In some ways, those are the questions in an interview that says, you know, what makes you unique? And we do want to know that because we want to also fund people who are innovative and who are interested in solving problems that not everyone else is trying to solve. For residency scholars, we do ask that you submit your residency contract. The day of the application, the last day to submit the application is April 15th, and we know that, you know, you may still be making a decision or trying to figure that out, but we need to at least have a letter that says that you've matched with a place in Chicago. And if you're chosen, then we would then have to definitely have your residency contract. But if you can go ahead and upload your contract when you apply, that would make everything easier. The Community Health Project Proposal form, that again, or proposal, is in the application. And you do, when you apply, you need to have an idea of what you're trying to address. We also ask for who is your site mentor and what is your site. So you need to have an idea. It doesn't have to be completely set in stone. We know that things change. Sometimes things don't work out. And so we want the information. We want to know that you have a plan for what you're trying to address. We also, like I said, are looking at what is sort of the variety of problems that are being addressed. And so sometimes we do look at, you know, do we have 2 or 3 programs that are the same, and is there one of them that is stronger than the other or that has more in place than the other? And that might be a deciding factor in who receives the scholarship. Obviously, your CV, your biostats, kind of a general overview of, a quick overview of really your CV is what I would say, except in narrative form. And then 2 letters of recommendation. We ask that one of them be from a faculty member at your school, and then one of them be from an organization that you have volunteered for. So we do, like I said earlier, you need to have a history of demonstrated care for the community. So that letter also gives us that information and allows us to see what you've been interested in the past, what you have experience with. And then the last thing that's on here is the documentation of your loan history. Okay. So that is all of the information that I have to present to you today. And, you know, I'm very interested to see if there are any questions, as well as if you have not put in your school that you are from, would you just put that in? We want to know sort of where people are coming from. You can send it as a private message to me instead of posting it to everyone. It's totally up to you. So I have a question. It says, I'm currently in M2, so am I still eligible for the previous scholars who completed their work during M3 year? Okay, I guess these are 2 questions, sorry. So one, currently in M2, so are you still eligible? Yes, you are. So as a third-year medical student, you can get the scholarship. And your question is additional question is how did they balance clerkships with their project requirements? You know, that's an excellent question, and I actually think that's one of those things that it's best to ask a scholar about, because ultimately, while we do get updates and we get their information, it's not necessarily something that we go in depth with in terms of how did they balance it. I think one of it is careful planning that comes up, and sort of having a good idea of what your schedule is like. And then the other thing is that the program takes place essentially from, I think we will notify in May, and so you basically have from the end of May until October to complete the project that you want to do. And so I know every medical school is kind of different in how their schedule runs and how you have time. So I can't say that they just do it, you know, during their summer break. That's not always true. But there is sort of a careful balance that they have in between. If you would send me an email, and my email is tjackson@nmfonline.org, and I'll just type that in just a bit. If you send me your email and your school that you go to, then I can also try to put you in contact with the scholar that we had there before, and maybe they can give you insight on how they were able to balance the two. I am personally always surprised at how well medical students, our scholars specifically, can manage things. Okay, I have a question about the service scholarship application, and it is due April 15th. Both of the applications are due on that day, actually. Okay. Someone asked, I am an off-cycle medical student. I finished my MD in November and apply for residency next year. So I'm technically an M4, but won't be starting residency until next year. May I still apply for the service program? Off-cycle medical student in November. So if you are currently enrolled in, and you will not start your residency until next year, then you would have to apply for the service program, but not the residency program. So you are eligible for service, but you're not eligible for the residency program. And if you need additional clarification, again, you can email us about that specifically, but I hope that I answered that question correctly. If my school has a department for community service initiatives and I have volunteered exclusively through that, can the director write my letter of recommendation? Yes, it's totally fine. So you can have them, I think you are asking for if they can write your community service letter, is my only clarification around that. And that would be okay. You would need 2 letters, though. You couldn't have them write both because they qualify, so you would need a letter from a separate person. Okay, and let me see if I have any additional questions. Okay, I think that is all of the questions that I have. If anyone else has questions, please, here we go. Is the site project supposed to be an original project? So what would be okay is if you have a project that you have been a part of before and you are sort of creating a new initiative within that project, that would be okay. What is not okay is if you have a project that you've been a part of and you just become like the manager of that project. You have to have some sort of new initiatives that you're trying to put on, so that you're trying to add to that. Does that answer your question? Great. Awesome. All right. Okay. I think those are all of the questions that I'm seeing. if you have additional questions, again, we're here. You can email myself, Elio Guy, or Desiree Torres, and we'll be happy to respond to you. We like questions and things in order to help people get things clear. We like clarity. That's a great way to say it. And we're really excited about this program. The Monash Scott / Monash Marshall is personally one of my favorites because there's some really awesome projects that come out of it, and the scholars have always been really great students that are just so impressive. So I look forward to getting your applications in and hopefully or possibly meeting you in November during the colloquium. All right, have a great day, and thank you so much for joining us.